Thank you for tuning into my channel. Today I wanted to talk to you about eBay returns, and should you offer free returns or should you not offer free returns. I'm going to talk to you about what I do and my thoughts on the issue. And so without any further ado, let's go. So free returns versus no returns as an eBay seller. What do you do? Well, there's two reasons why I offer free returns, and I offer free returns on my main account. And the reason is you get a boost in your search ranking for your items that you're selling. As part of the eBay algorithm, if you offer free 30-day returns, you're going to have a better search result than, say, your competitor who doesn't offer free returns or doesn't offer returns at all. And so over time, if my item has higher exposure than my competitor's item, I might even be able to offer that item at a little higher price than my competitor, because they're not going to scroll down to page 2, 3 where this person's item might be, right? And so that's the number one reason why I offer free returns. But you need to, as a seller, understand that eBay does not have your back when it comes to whatever policies you set. Yes, they give you the option to set a return policy, whether you want to accept 30-day returns or not. However, if you choose to not take returns, your customer still can force you to take a return simply by stating the item was not as described. Maybe they changed their mind. Maybe there's nothing wrong with the item. They just want to send it back. Well, they can just state to eBay, they can go in and click on the item and ask for a return under the basis of item not as described. And when that happens, you're on the hook for shipping to return the item, and you have to accept the return, because what happens is if that return isn't accepted within, I think it's 3 or 4 business days after that return case is opened by the customer, and you do nothing, well, guess what happens? The customer gets to keep the item and they're going to get their money back. Okay, and that's the last thing as a seller you want to do. So how do you deal with that? Well, I can tell you how I deal with it. I have my main account, like I mentioned. I have a main account that I offer free returns. Now, on that account, they can change their mind, and it'll simply state, changed my mind, as the reason. And I am expected to pay for that return label. Now, I deal with smaller items. I realize some of you who deal in larger items, it's not feasible. It's not something you can consider offering free returns. I totally get it. Okay, but just know your customer can go in and state that it's item not as described, and you may have done everything that you're supposed to do as a seller, and that's still going to fall back on you, and you're going to have to deal with it. So I have a secondary account. That is an auction account. So with liquidation is what I mainly deal with. About 75 to 80% of the items are just great, anywhere from used condition on up to brand new, and that goes on my main account. The other account deals with items that have some type of issue. Maybe everything works except for one function doesn't work properly, or maybe the item doesn't work at all. Most of the items that I deal with are electronics, and so I realize there's a lot of folks out there who actually, that's what they do. They buy items that don't work, electronics, and they know they have the expertise to fix these items, and they buy these non-working items at pennies on the dollar. They fix them up, and there they go. They resell them. They refurbish them. So knowing that, I take these items that have issues and I sell them at a low starting rate plus the actual cost of shipping. and I state in my listing no returns. So my returns really aren't nearly as high as my free return account, my main account, but you still get people who find a way to open up a return case, and it's always as item not as described. Okay? And there's really, as a seller, there's no way you can combat that. Okay? You have to comply with the return. So I'll give you an example as to what I did and how I find ways to work with the customer so that I'm not on the hook for return shipping. So I had an item. It's an Apple Watch Series 1. And this came in our pallet. We were able to get the item to power on and immediately went to the activation. There's a little screen that pops up on the Apple Watch. For those of you who have an Apple Watch, you have to pair that with your iPhone camera. And upon doing that, somehow it was iCloud locked, where the original person, before they returned it back to the store for a refund, never unlocked it from their phone. So we mentioned this in the listing. It powers on just fine. The watch looks great. However, it does have activation issues. And there are ways you can go and spend $30-40 to deactivate the iCloud link, I guess, from the old owner so that you can activate it. And but I didn't go that far to put that information in the listing, of course. But knowing that there's people that have that expertise, I'm not going to spell it out. Look, I'm just trying to move an item. I started it off at $9.99 plus shipping. So about 5 days passed after I listed the item, and it went for over $100. And so payment was made. We shipped it out, and about 3 or 4 days later, we get this nasty email. Person's cursing. You know, this item's not activating. You know, I think what happened was they didn't read the listing until after they received the item, and now are stating you shouldn't be selling items on eBay that don't work, that type of thing. So I replied back that, hey, we really didn't do anything wrong here. I see you opened a case against us for a return as item not as described. And I just want you to know that we did not do anything wrong here. And it may be that you didn't read the listing. However, we offer no returns. Now, I wasn't nasty. Okay, I didn't respond in kind to that customer's nastiness. But I wanted to put it out there that we offer no returns. Let's see what happens with that. And so only a few minutes later, she came back with a message that was equally nasty as the one before and stated, I don't care, I want my money back. And she was really rude. I mean, cursing the whole nine. And so I told her, I said, look, there's no place for you to behave that way, and this is going to be reported to eBay. And we were discussing this, that you are not going to get a return from us mainly because of the way you're acting. We're not going to make an exception to this policy. And I did that because I wanted to, calm her down, to let her know that if she may change her tone, I might be willing to work with her, knowing that no matter what I do, I have to take this return. And so she responds back, and of course that kind of calmed her tone. And so I stated, look, I'll take the return. I said, here's my address, send it back, and I'll be willing to give you a full refund of the amount that you paid for the item, plus any taxes that you paid, but the original shipping is not refundable. I said, if you're okay with that, then, and if you agree with that, I'll go ahead and start, I'll accept the return, and we'll get the ball rolling on that. So she accepted the return, and I still had to pay for a label. At least eBay, in eBay's eyes, I had to at least state to them where the label was. So I told her, I said, as soon as you ship this, please send me the tracking number so I can let eBay know that the return is happening. So the next day, didn't hear nothing from her. and knowing that I have only a few days before eBay is going to give her a full refund and allow her to keep the item, I sent her a message and I stated, hey, have you sent the item? Well, no, I haven't sent the item. I'm dealing with a lot of stuff at work, not able to get to the post office until like Thursday. Well, that's a problem for me because that puts me past my deadline. So what I did was I took a screenshot of our correspondence using the snipping tool. I don't know if you're aware of that. It's a great tool to have. But I used the snipping tool in Windows 10, and I basically saved it as a JPEG file, and I uploaded that as if it were a label, okay, with the return, and I put a bogus number in there starting with a 9, about a 15-digit number. And so I know this. I know that eBay wants us to work with our customers when we can. And this is one way that I'm able to do that. So it tells eBay that I've done my part. Okay, here's the correspondence with the customer. And the customer now has to send that item back. And so I'm going to see how it works out. We haven't received the return yet. But that's one way you can do this. You work with your customer. It's, you don't want to equal their nastiness if they're nasty with you, right? But let them know, look, we normally don't take returns, but I'm willing to work with you. So if that customer comes back and says to you, well, I don't care, I still want my full refund, I got news for you. You can try to work with your customers, and that's the first way I would recommend doing it. But your customer can get a full refund, and there's nothing you're going to be able to do about it. Okay. Another tactic I do as well, if it's an item, like it's a broken item, if it's really a useless item, it's an item I don't really want to mess with, maybe only sold it for $5 or $10 plus the cost of shipping, I'm not going to foot the bill for a return label on that. It's just the way I do business, and I'm going to write it off. I'm going to give them a full refund. And that means I ate the cost of shipping on the outbound. And so I just don't want that on them back. I don't want to pay for shipping on the outbound that was shipped to them and the return shipping label to get it back to me. Also, I can do what? Lose money? No. And I know there's a lot of sellers out there who disagree with that tactic. It sort of conditions the customer to basically train them that some sellers are going to be able to give them a full refund. But I'm not talking about those buyers. If it's a $100 item, you're sending that back to me, and it's going to be in the same condition that I sent it to you. And that's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about items that may be sold for a lot lower than the cost of your shipping both ways, and you're responsible for that return label. And it makes no business sense at all to pay more for your return label than the actual value of the item that you're returning. So just something to keep in mind, and it's something I wanted to talk to you, but please know this. As a seller, you are out on an island by yourself when it comes to returns, and that customer has all the control. You are not going to get eBay to have your back no matter what. You can send them emails about it, and when this pandemic is over, you can call them, and they are not going to back you up. They are going to force you to take that item not as described return, whether or not there's a problem with the item. And so that's what I wanted to talk to you about today. If you like the content, please like my video, and please subscribe to my channel, because I'm trying to build this. I am trying to get content out to you that hopefully will help you sort of think a little bit more in depth about your business and how you're handling your eBay seller account. And if you take returns, 30-day returns, or if you don't take returns at all, please let us know below how that's working for you. Have you come across any problem customers when you don't take returns? And do you notice you take a lot more returns with free returns? I know I do. And so let's get the discussion going here, because this is a forum where we can help each other as sellers. And by subscribing to my channel, it helps me know that I'm doing a good job. It tells YouTube that I'm doing a great job delivering this content as well. So without any further ado, I'll let you have the rest of your day, and I'll see you very soon.